Hi, and welcome. Since we do not have a guest today, I thought it would be a great time for you guys to get to know me a little bit. What do you think? I am just a regular person, regular little old me on a healing journey who is healing from many things, many things. Okay. Believe me, it is a journey. Okay. I'm learning about myself throughout this process, and I have found that many other people are on their own healing journey as well. And I created this space to share what my journey looks like and to create a community of healing. I believe that the more of us that heal our past traumas and the grief that we have suffered, that we can uplift more people and possibly inspire others to find their own healing path. I hope to help others heal and provide a safe place to lay down the weight of what you carry, even if it's just for the time that we spend together today. So thank you so much for being here and walking this path with me. I hope you stick around. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, please. That will help other people find this video. Now, it's time to come in and get comfy. There is much to discuss. So today I want to talk about grief. I know it's kind of a heavy subject, but I think we can kind of switch it up and turn it around. Some things that I've learned recently about myself that I want to share with you guys. Not the kind of grief that people expect you to have after a death, but grief in the wider sense too. The kind that shows up after a loss, a big change, a heartbreak maybe, or life that suddenly does not look the way that you thought it would. Grief can be emotional, it can be physical, mental, and even behavioral. It can live inside your body, and you know what that means, right? You think about the one place in your body that hurts all the time. Like maybe that's where your grief lives, right? It can make you tired. It can make it hard to focus and make you want to pull away from people or make you feel things that you don't even really understand. And I have been there. So tell me if you've been there. Or maybe you're there right now. You're in grief and you don't understand a lot of the things that you feel. Grief can be very confusing. I think one of the hardest parts is that grief is often treated like something that should follow like a timeline. And there's a right way to do it or a right amount of time to feel grief. But grief doesn't really work that way. It can stay. It can soften, it can change shape, it can come back when you least expect it. And what I realized about myself is that for me, grief has felt like something I just carry with me. Some days it's in the background, other days it feels heavy and close to the surface. And there are moments when I feel okay. And then something small can bring all of it rushing back. And that's really hard, if it's just a song or even a smell, a memory, a place, somebody sounding like something someone said one time can just take you there. And suddenly I'm reminded that grief is not only about what was lost, it's also about how that loss has changed me. And I think people sometimes assume grief is only sadness, but it can be so much more complicated than that. Sometimes grief can look like anger, and anger is one of those stages, right? I mean, sometimes it looks like you're numb. You're just numb to everything that's going on. Sometimes it can look like guilt. You feel guilty about a situation that you're grieving, or exhaustion. Maybe you sleep all the time. Maybe you're just like so tired you can't even get your head off the bed. I've been through that as well. Or just feeling disconnected from yourself altogether, like not really feeling like yourself at all. And sometimes grief can look like continuing on with your day while carrying on pain that nobody else can see. And you're just in your head about it and thinking about it. If grief has been with you for a long time, as it has been with me, you're not doing it wrong. There is nothing strange about still feeling grief. There is nothing weak about being affected deeply by something so important to you. Grief is a response to loss, and loss can change us in ways that takes a long time to understand sometimes. And while you're going through that process, I also think grief can be pretty lonely. Nobody really understands exactly what you're going through, and it can be difficult trying to find the words to explain it to people, and then they want to ask a bunch of questions and you just don't really have the energy to explain it. So it's a vicious cycle, and especially if other people have moved on from the grief and they can't understand why you're still in that place. And like I said, it's a process for you. It's an individual process. You may find yourself wondering why you still feel so much or why the same loss can still affect you even years later. But grief does not always end just because time has passed. Sometimes it becomes part of your life in a different way, not smaller necessarily, maybe just more familiar. And that might be one of the hardest truths to accept, that healing does not always mean forgetting. It does not always mean getting over it. Like, how many times have people told you to get over your grief or get over some issue that caused you so much pain that you can't get over, that it's still painful for you and you still think about it. You still are processing. Um, Sometimes you don't even realize you're in grief, right? So that is where I found myself, is that I did not really understand that I was in grief for so long. And when we are healing from grief, sometimes when you're not going to get over it for a time, you just kind of learn to live with either the missing piece or how to carry love and loss at the same time, and to make space for both pain and the life that continues on and that you're trying to create. So if you are listening to this and you know these feelings or any of them, I wanted you to hear this. I want you to really hear what I am about to say. You are allowed to grieve for as long as you need. You are allowed to have days when your grief is fresh again. You are allowed to miss what is gone. You are also allowed to keep going even if grief still walks beside you. And I know a lot of people that are going through that right now. Maybe that is what grief really asks of us, not to disappear, but to be carried with honesty, to speak about our grief, to give it a place, to stop pretending it only belongs in the past. I don't think that that's true. I think that for me, the grief that I have been carrying has been like compounding and like a big snowball. And like the reason that I have been carrying so much grief for so long is because I did not know how to process grief. No tools for how to process it, no outlets to process it, and nobody that was tolerant enough to explain to me how to go about it. And truthfully, I feel like a lot of people might relate to this aspect. I did not seek therapy for some of the grief because I was going through custody battle with my ex-husband, and I was terrified that my mental health information would come into a trial and that I would be deemed like unfit for having elongated grief processing. And so I didn't do anything. I just sat with it and tried to forget about it. And that was the least healthy way to deal with it and to process it. So learn from my mistakes. We have to get this kind of stuff out of our body. We got to think it through, feel it, process it, and let it go. And when it comes up again, because that means somewhere inside of you, there's another piece of you that needs to honor it, look at it, and feel the grief and process it again. And that happens for me often. I, I grieve the loss of my dad over and over again. It's still like very fresh and painful for me, but I have tools now for how to grieve and how to honor myself through the grieving process. And I really just want everybody to know that there is help for you. A coworker of mine passed away last few months, and it was shocking, and it put me into a grief that I was unfamiliar with. And the grief that I had only really felt in the past in my small mind at the time was that the grief was just people in my family that had passed away. And this person affected me so deeply that I really had to examine, why do I feel so deeply about this? And it's not that I didn't love her. I did. I loved her so much, but this really affected me for months, so much so that I couldn't make any more podcast videos. So I really apologize for that, you guys. I was kind of in a profound state of grief. And unfortunately, at the time, high level manager that I had was not very supportive emotionally for what we were going through. And we had lost many of our very close coworkers to quitting, firing, and passing away. We were all kind of just upside down with all the things. It was a very hard time to get through. So I'm on the other side of it now. And I processed. I sat with this and I processed it. And tell me if anybody else has felt like this. Okay. What struck me so hard about this is that I kind of realized that I think I've been in grief since I was like 6 years old. I stopped to think about when was the very first time that I actually felt grief. And I know exactly when it is. I can pinpoint it. It was a pretty traumatic experience for me. And a lot of people will not understand this, but I was 6 or 7 years old and long, luxurious hair down to my waist, my butt. And I still had like some of my little curl from when I was an infant. Like I had pristine hair and I loved it and it made me feel beautiful. And my mom cut it. She cut it off and she did not care one bit about the fact that I did not want my hair cut at all. And I will never forget the amount of grief that that caused me. And that is the very first time in my life that I felt grief. And because I was 6 years old or 7 years old at the time, and my mom was like, get over it. You're gonna live. It's just hair. It'll grow back. My whole self-image was ruined. I didn't know who I was with this hair. I didn't know how to do my hair. I didn't know how to fix it to make it look better. And it was so embarrassing. My self-esteem ruined by that damn haircut. And so everything that really happened to me as a kid after that, that I internalized and was so hard for me that I grieved, I didn't know how to process. The grief compounded. And instead of processing grief and understanding what was happening, I was just a bad little kid because I was going through it. I was an emotional kid that people did not understand. People, you're too much, you're too emotional, you're crying all the time, you're too this, you're too that. And I didn't understand either, but it was because of grief. Before that, I wasn't really like that. Before that haircut, before having my voice kind of taken from me, and my bodily autonomy and my personal choice taken away from me, it scarred me for years. And when my coworker passed away, I realized I had been in grief since that time. And I really had to do some work on myself to let all of my grief go. And so I want to live life happy. I do not want to be grieving. I do not want to feel sad. I do not want to feel tired. I do not want to feel indifferent. I want to feel joy. And I have made this conscious decision to walk this healing path so that I can live in joy and that I can be an example to others of how you can live in joy, experience joy, and still heal out loud or privately and process your feelings about things that have happened to you. And then learn how to maybe put things into a different perspective. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to give you guys a great example of something that was profound grief for me, something that was a big trauma in my life that happened to me over a great long period of time. And I will also tell you then how I chose to heal from it. So everyone, this is my dad. He is here with us today. I brought him specifically with us to talk about grief in this episode because my dad was the absolute love of my life. And I loved my dad so much. Total daddy's girl. And my dad could do no wrong in my eyes. And he took a second wife and she and I got along just fine for a number of years until a moment in time. But her perspective of me changed and she decided that we were now enemies and she began poisoning my dad's brain against his only living child, me. And during that time, my dad was having a bunch of strokes, bunch of TIAs, their trans ischemic attacks, mini strokes, and they were affecting his cognitive ability and his brain. And she took advantage of that time when he was confused and was doing nothing but talking smack about me nonstop. And unfortunately, she also monitored all of his phone calls. He was not allowed to really have unsupervised phone calls with me or anyone in our family for that matter. And this went on for a period of about 7 years until he passed away in recently. And I was profoundly grieved by this whole situation. I had to step away from the situation, and I didn't really get to speak about this for all of this time because everyone became punished when I spoke out about the situation. And then nobody was given access to my dad. So I had to pretty much grieve the loss of my dad while he was still alive. And then I was left out of the end of his life. I was only invited to see my father after he was unconscious and he died the next morning. And then I was invited to the funeral. And his widow, in my opinion, has yet to still bury him. She continues to hold his ashes hostage. So this is the conclusion of my healing process from this. It has taken me years to heal from this and to get to a point where I can actually even talk about this without crying hysterically. So, number one, I'm proud of myself. It was a lot of work. This situation happened to me while I was going through another trauma when I was having a really hard time with the business that my husband and I started, and we actually ended up losing our business. And this situation was going on and it was ramping up at the same time that I was losing my business. And that was incredibly difficult. So it was like all the years of grief up until then, plus losing my business, plus the situation with my dad. It was a lot, you guys. It was a lot. And there will be a whole nother episode about how I overcame that. But this is a tool that I used to take back my power from that horribly negative situation. I'm rewriting the end of this story. I refuse to allow this woman to control the future and my future happiness. Like, she stole 7, 8 years of my life, and the grief that I was in, the anger that I felt, the times I contemplated going to prison, if you know what I mean. So I am happy to say that I lived through that horrible nightmare. And if anybody in the world that is hearing this is going through anything remotely similar to that, I am beyond sorry for you, and I am here for you. We have stories to tell, and I am an advocate for estranged children, where second or third wife or whoever is keeping your parent from you, and your parent doesn't really have a say because they're confused or they're abused. And I do not have any evidence to support, only my opinion, but I believe that my father was abused in some type of way, whether it was emotional or physical. I do not know, and I have no evidence to support my opinion, just my daughter's intuition. Yeah. So I digress. But I wanted you guys to know that there's hope. There's hope for you. And if you need to change the story, change the ending to your story, let's talk about it. Let's figure out how you can get there too. I want people to know that you're not alone. You're not alone. Grief is not proof that you are stuck anywhere. Okay. Sometimes grief is just proof that you loved deeply. You loved someone, something, some situation meant a lot to you. It was deeply personal to you. I also want to take a moment and honor the absolute physical pain that grief can manifest in. Like, when my dad passed, it was brutal agony in my solar plexus, in my heart, in my throat, just agony of pain, retching pain. And during those times, you guys, I wondered how on earth I am going to live like this. And I had to go to work. And I had to pick myself up and go to work. I did not have time off really to process what happened. I also found a fantastic therapist, and I want to give a shout out to Michelle. She's thebomb.com, and she has helped me more than she can ever know. And I am so grateful to her, and I hope and wish the absolute best for her because she is an angel on earth. And I told her about our podcast here, and she is very supportive of it. And thank you again, Michelle. You are the bomb. So you guys see, there is hope that you will get to the other side of your grief, or at least you'll be able to process enough to where you can walk with it and find some peace in the fact that you are healing, and you will get where you need to go. in time. Please be gentle with yourself. Give yourself grace. That is one rule that I have. I feel like if there is no one else out there that understands me and that is going to be there for me, it's got to be me. It's got to be me. I got to take care of myself. And whatever that looks like for you, be gentle with yourself. What I do sometimes is I self-soothe with food, and I give myself grace with that. I know I'm probably going to gain weight. And I know that when I get better, when I'm feeling better, that I'm going to have to lose that weight, and I'm going to have to get my butt back up and exercise and stop laying around and stop being a potato and take care of that and be well. But in the moment when the grief is happening, I give myself the space and peace to comfort myself, especially if I'm not getting comfort anywhere else. And I drink cherry Pepsi. And I call this my emotional support cherry Pepsi. It is not good for you. It is not good for me. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. If that's what it takes to keep me here on this planet alive and thriving and coping and willing to do the work, then that's what it takes. That's what it took for me this time. It took me gaining 40 pounds. And I can safely say that I have lost that 40 pounds, and I am now working on losing 40 more pounds, because when I'm doing the work and I'm shedding the grief and I'm processing it, the weight is coming off. Tell me, can anybody relate to any of this stuff that I'm talking about? I have no idea. I just came on here and started rambling because I have had this inside of me for so long. This episode is dedicated to my beautiful coworker, Cassie, who is gone much too young and too soon. And I honor every single person that is going through some type of grief right now. Honor yourself. Honor yourself and give yourself the space that you need. Because you deserve it. Shh, my dog's. No. Thank you for listening to this episode and for making space for something that is often hard to say out loud. Grief. I'm in grief. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed your time at Come In and Get Comfy today. I hope that you feel a little bit better when you leave here today, and that you love one another. Talk to you soon. Bye.